Hi, I'm Liz Linden for the Power of the Patient Project. My guest today is David Essel. David is a life coach and motivator and author of numerous self-help books. His most recent book is called Helping Americans Heal. David himself struggled for many years with anxiety, depression, and addiction. His experience, 45 years as a counselor, master life coach, and more, has helped him dedicating the rest of his life to helping others struggling with these issues and more. He is also the developer of the positive thinking movement. So welcome, David, and thank you for joining me today.
Liz, great to be with you in these crazy times we're living in.
Absolutely. Um, so I have some questions for you today. The first one is, please tell us about your new book, Helping Americans Heal. Why did you write the book, and what is its message for patients?
About a year ago, after going through the pandemic, the American Psychological Association, Liz, came out with this incredible survey, and this is what they found in their survey. 80% of marriages in America are at their worst they've ever been. 80% of Americans are saying they do not have the emotional coping skills to deal with the stress, the job loss, the grief, the addiction, everything that's out of control. 80% of marriages are saying they're at their worst ever. 80% of Americans are saying during this pandemic, we're lost. We don't know how to take care of our minds, our bodies, our spirits, our finances. We're completely out of control. 40% said that their anxiety has never been worse than it is right now. And another 40 reported that their depression has never been worse than it is right now. So, Liz, we're looking at all these statistics, and I've been in this world of business of personal growth as a counselor for 43 years. And I said, we've got to do something. Like, this is crazy. People are lost. They're not sure what to do. And if you tune into the news, other than media shows like yours, most are talking about politics and wars and arguing over the vaccine and all this BS crap. And no one's really taking care of Americans. No one's really saying, I care about you. I want to help you. So we put together a very inexpensive book that has over 90 writings on everything from what to do if your relationship is challenged right now. What is anxiety and how do you deal with it? How do you know if your depression is getting even deeper? How do you turn around a business that's failing? What is PTSD? Most people believe PTSD is for our veterans and our army workers. But, I tell a story in the book, Liz, that's mind blowing. This woman came to me and said, I've been really struggling over the last year and I just don't know what's going on. I think I might have depression. And I said, well, she told me all these symptoms. She had gained weight, she had started drinking more, she had isolated herself and all this stuff. And so that was the manifestation of what she was going through. And I said, well, what's happened in the last year where that you've let yourself go like this? And she said, well, several pretty tough things. I lost two of my dogs of 13 years of age. They were my children, and they both died almost in the same week. My husband divorced me the next week. The following week after that, I lost my job and I lost my house. And I looked at her and I said, honey, this is not depression. This is PTSD. There's a huge difference. PTSD includes depression, but it also includes isolation, deep mental health challenges, anxiety. It could turn into OCD and many other manifestations, if it's not taken care of. So, Liz, a long answer to your question is that, we've had all these people challenged in all these different ways. And we said, let's put together a Bible. Helping Americans Heal is a Bible to help people through these challenging times with about 100 writings on different topics. And the responses have been incredible. As a matter of fact, we're very happy to be able to say on this show that a week ago, the book went #1 bestseller on Amazon. So it tells us that it's needed and people are responding positively.
Oh, okay. You know what? I looked up your book before this interview and it said it was sold out. That's just an aside note. I'm hoping I can get it. So it's seemed to be popular. So that's
Yeah.
good news for you. Well,
Yes.
and bad news for just the country in general.
Yeah, but hopefully they'll get that stock up fast,
Yeah. Um, so the next question is, please tell me about the positive thinking movement and how did it come about and what is it about?
It's very interesting, Liz. The positive thinking movement has been around for thousands of years. There's some books that came out recently talking about positive thinking that are actually based off of books written in the 1900s. So positive thinking has been, one of the greatest books ever written was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I mean, that's a very positive book. But Jenny McCarthy, about 5 years ago, the celebrity, she was a radio host. Now she hosts the TV show The Masked Singer. But I was on her radio show, and she was a very positive thinker and loved positive thinking. And we came out with this book, Liz, and the title of it was Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life, but This Book Will. So she got it, and my publicist TJ contacted her and said, hey, we'd love to have David on your show. And she said, TJ, I'm such a positive thinker. I love The Secret. I love The Law of Attraction. I love all these kind of books. I don't know if David is the right client for my show. And he goes, trust me, he's going to blow you away. So I came on Jenny's show, and she was so adorable, and she gave me a big hug, and I sat down, and when we started the show, she said, okay, gang, listen, you know how much I love affirmations and positive thinking and The Secret and all those kind of books. I've got a guy with me right now in the studio, David Essel, who says it's all wrong, that we've been fed a bunch of BS. So I'm giving David Essel 3 minutes, and in 3 minutes, he's going to sell me or not. We'll find out after his 3 minutes. David, go. So Liz, I had 3 minutes, and I gave it everything I had. And at the end of it, she shook her head, moved closer to her microphone, and said, ladies and gentlemen, you have just been introduced to the new leader of the positive thinking movement, David Essel. And the difference, Liz, between why Jenny immediately jumped from The Law of Attraction to The Secret as a huge promoter to our book is because our book looks at positive thinking as 20% of your success in life will come from having a great attitude. 20% of success will help you lose weight, make more money, save a relationship, shatter an addiction. 20% of positive thinking is powerful. But 80%, if you want to see changes in your life, has to be action steps that you'd rather not take, Liz. And that's the truth in life, right? That is the truth. I mean, you're going to have to do things that are uncomfortable if you want to be more successful than you are today. You're going to have to do things that might scare you. I just got off the phone with a woman that wants to be a client. We do one-on-one work. And we have this special going out right now for the month of September that if you join me for 8 sessions, you get 8 sessions absolutely free. And the reason we're doing this special is because gas prices, food prices, I mean, everything is going crazy through the roof. So we keep responding, Liz, with books and programs to meet the needs of our country. And this is a great example. So I'm on the phone talking with this woman, and she said, well, I can't afford, your 8 sessions. And I said, well, could you afford them if it was 16? In other words, if you got twice as many. And she said, oh my God, I could do that in a heartbeat. And I said, okay, listen, then I'm going to give you homework right now. And Liz, this is the difference between The Secret and The Law of Attraction and David Essel and our work. We believe that 80% is going to be your action steps that brings you what you want. So I said to her, before we start working, I'm giving you homework. And she said, but I haven't even paid you. I go, it doesn't matter. You have homework to do. Because I want you in the mindset that the way you're going to change is by living life differently. So I'm going to have you get up in the morning, and your morning routine is going to be totally different, I can guarantee you, than it is right now, because how you start your day is everything. If you start your day on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, forget it. You're lost. If you start your day on the pandemic, on news, on stock market, you're lost. But if you start your day, Liz, and we talk about this in the book, Helping Americans Heal, and you isolate the first hour, electronic free, no phone, no text, no email. It's just you and your higher power, or you and an actual book that you would hold on to, Liz. There are these things called books that are made out of paper that a lot of people have never been introduced to because they're so used to their freaking iPads and Kindles and everything else, right? But we want to get away from electronics. We have this massive movement to get people away for the first hour of the day. I started doing this a number of years ago, and it's incredible how it changed my life. And I want the rest of the world to benefit too.
It's so much of what you just said resonates with me as I just turned off my cell phone. And I've read both of those books that you mentioned before. And it is do believe it's not just a thought, it is the action steps. You just can't wish your problems away. So I really appreciated that comment. Like I was just like ching ching ching, all that resonates with me. So I'm really looking forward to getting a copy of your book.
Good.
So I have a third question, and also a fourth. Third question is, you once struggled with addiction and then began your journey to recovery. Now you are a counselor and master life coach. Tell us about your journey and the work that you are doing now.
Liz, it's always fascinating. People look at someone like myself that's achieved a certain amount of success, and they'll say, "Oh, he's had a pretty easy life, and he's that stuff that he posts works for him, but it won't work for me because he's whatever." But the reality is, my addiction started at the age of 12. I was a very difficult child. My mom and dad were saints. I swear to God that my mom never kicked me out of the house is an absolute miracle. But at 12, when I wanted to hang out with 16-year-olds, the only way I could do it is if I drank alcohol. So they said, if you want to be part of this group, you have to drink these 2 warm Budweisers, which I did. And this is what I found. I had immense anger as a child. But even at 12, when I had 2 beers, I was totally chill. I was totally calm. And I go, oh my God, this is incredible. I'm always angry. I'm always upset. Now, we didn't know for years, Liz, that I actually had mental illnesses that were never discovered. No one, until I actually got into recovery, I was an alcoholic for 30 years. We uncovered at that time that I had ADD since I was a child. I had ADHD since I was a child. I had generalized anxiety disorder and undiagnosed depression. So no wonder why I drank. No wonder why, like when you've got all this crap going down, all you want to do is escape it. So, my parents didn't understand my sensitivity. I am an outrageously sensitive person, but I'm also the opposite. I can be very rough. I can be very direct and in your face. Now, over the years, I've learned how to mellow that. But in the beginning, I didn't have any kind of tools, so my addiction began very young. In 1990, I had a failed suicide attempt. And that's really what broke everything open. I had gone deeper in my addiction. The depression and the anxiety had gotten out of control, and I wanted out of this world. I am grateful to God, to the angels, to whoever it was that blocked that attempt. But that's what turned it around for me, Liz. And from that day in 1990 until today, I thought I had dedicated my life to helping people heal. From 1980, when I started my career, to 1990. It became so intense. It's all I care about. My whole life is about people. If it's a homeless person on the street, I will stop and talk to every homeless person I can. If it's someone that's calling me and they say, I don't have any money, but could I ask you a question and talk to you for 15 minutes? Hell yes. My work is my life. Now, I will also say this, because then some people go, oh, he's that traditional workaholic and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I do have workaholic tendencies in me, without a doubt. The last 4 books I've written in 3 days, each book in 3 days. And you're talking 20-hour days of just going hard. So I can do that. But I also have found how crucial it is, as I mentioned before, my first hour of every day or longer is electronic free. My evenings are electronic free. I have created a system that now I teach other people of how to create a better work-life balance. And when you do that, addictions have a tendency to fade away. Now, I still will tell you that about 80% of our work has something to do with mental health. Relationship challenges where people are just so angry with each other, depression that is untreated, anxiety that's untreated, dependencies or addictions that are untreated. Almost everything comes back to mental health, Liz. It's really incredible. The choice to have a drink tonight is a mental health choice. The choice to eat cake tonight is a mental health choice. The choice to go on Amazon and buy what you can't afford is a mental health choice, So everything comes down to what we do in my work as a counselor is teaching emotional regulation techniques, a very fancy term for when I am bored, what can I do other than eat or drink or smoke or watch television or argue over politics, So we teach emotional regulation techniques so people all of a sudden, Liz, start to feel empowered. I don't have to respond to my partner's trigger. My partner is saying that because they're upset with me and they're trying to get me to respond. I can disengage. David Essel taught me the power of disengagement. I can actually control my emotional response to my husband who's triggering me, or my wife who's triggering me, or my children who are triggering me, right? So we teach all of these kind of tools. It's not just, oh, forgive them because that's what Christ would do or something. No, if you need to forgive someone, there's a tool to use. There's techniques to follow, right? If you want to learn, I remember when I was in the treatment center, as I was leaving after 30 days, the gentleman said to me, tell me again the time that you start drinking every night. And I said, oh, that's easy, 8:01. Because my last session ends at 8. And at 8:01, I'm opening up a bottle of wine. And he goes, okay, now here's your second question. Tonight, you're going to be home for the first time out of this cocoon called the treatment center. What are you doing at 8:01 tonight? It's a great question. It was an emotional regulation technique question. What are you going to substitute for the self-sabotaging behavior, right? And so that's emotional regulation. We're proactive. We say, okay, when I'm in traffic and I get behind people, I turn into a road rager. I turn into someone who's upset and I yell. Okay, so what's the opposite tools that we can use instead of raging? And let me give you a cute couple examples. So I'll give you two, because I just worked with two road ragers, just ended our work and they're doing great. One of them, believe it or not, hired a person to drive the car because he's in traffic all day long as a salesman. So he hired a young kid to drive all 8 hours a day, and he sits in the passenger side texting, emailing, setting up appointments instead of screaming and yelling. That's an emotional regulation technique. And then another person, which blows my mind, I said to him, I want you to go online and Google techniques to get you out of road rage. And I said, I want you to come back with something that will make you pause. So someone cuts you off. We need a pause button. So he came up with, have you ever heard of the phrase, Liz, Namaste?
Yes.
Okay. It simply means I honor the divine in you that resides within me. That's all Namaste means, right? I honor, whether you want to say the higher power, the divine, the God, whatever. So he comes in and he goes, okay, I found my way to break road rage. I go, awesome. What is it? He goes, when I'm at a stoplight and someone has cut me off, I'm going to put my foot on the brake and bow to them.
That's cool.
Liz, it was so, do you know, now it's been over 6 months that he's never had a road rage experience. All he does is bow. So that's emotional regulation. Whether we're talking about arguing with parents or kids or partners or at work, or we're talking about frustration and impatience, or we're talking about irritability or addiction, or watching too much television, it's all about, let's figure out, number one, why are we doing those behaviors that aren't healthy? Let's figure out the origin, right? And then number two, hey, there's a million solutions. Let's start trying them. We're going to find one that'll work for you. I promise you.
Yeah. How do I stop adding things to my online shopping cart?
Yeah, that's a great question. Are you talking about Amazon?
Oh, yeah. I didn't want to call them out, but
yes. Oh, we have so many people with that same challenge, Liz. It's amazing, right? It really, really is. So here's one of the things that I teach people that get in that situation. Put whatever you want in the shopping cart and come back 48 hours later and decide if it's essential.
good tip. Thank you so much. Okay, so my fourth question is, finally, what advice can you give to folks watching this segment who perhaps are struggling with physical illnesses or mental illnesses right now?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question, and such a huge part of the country is struggling. The world is struggling, if we really want to be honest. One of the writings in the book, Helping Americans Heal, says the world is grieving. And we talk about how the world is really grieving. Liz, as a counselor, for as long as I've been a counselor, my major issues in healing, I've never healed alone. The failed suicide attempt, I had to reach out to professionals. When I got sober, I reached out to professionals, and I went into the 30-day treatment center. But then I also hired a professional for 52 weeks, an addiction counselor. Even though I'm an addiction counselor, I couldn't get myself out of my own way. So the very first I'm going to say to everyone with us today that's struggling with mind, body, finances, relationships, addiction, is you really need to look for someone to be your accountability partner, someone who will hold your feet to the fire. It can't be a partner. It can't be a family member. It can't be a best friend. Those things never work. You'll destroy those relationships. Okay. So reach out to a professional. That's the number one thing to do. There are institutions, spiritual institutions, church institutions that will do sliding scale fees if you're struggling financially. There's different things that you can do, but keep calling and keep asking for help until you find the help. In these times, very few of us, Liz, are going to heal ourselves by our own. So number one is that. Number two, understand this. If you're 10% ready to change, go. So many people that will say to me, well, I'm just not ready to get sober yet, or I'm just not ready to give up sugar, or I'm just not ready to give up emotional spending or Amazon.com, or I'm not ready to give up whatever it might be, right? And I'll say, you don't have to be ready. I was not ready to get sober. I've never met anyone ready to get sober. I've never met anyone I am so excited to stop shopping on Amazon. See, that would be someone who's ready to stop, right? But you don't ever hear that. We hear people say, well, I know I should stop this and I should stop that. And so we say, don't wait until you're ready. David Essel wasn't ready. I was not ready to get help. I really wasn't, but I did anyway, because I had seen that all my attempts to cut back on drinking myself failed. And when you try for a multiple number of years and you're not successful, let's open our minds and say, well, it's probably not going to work down the road if I keep doing the same stuff, right? So, reach out for help. And then the last thing is follow what they ask you to do, especially the steps you'd rather not, because that's the key to success. When you're hiring someone and they're saying, okay, Liz, this is what I want you to do regarding Amazon, and you're paying them, and they're giving you great advice, but you choose not to do what they're asking you, then you're just wasting time and money and everything else, right? The key is probably going to be going into an arena you don't want to go, a new habit you'd rather not have, because we're comfortable. I was really comfortable with drinking. I enjoyed it. I used it for everything. It helped me relax. It helped me be social. It helped me make business deals with other men, blah, 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 blah. But it was all nonsense. The reality was it hurt me much worse than it ever helped me. And I had to awaken to that reality. Then I had to awaken is that I don't care how smart I might think I am. I wasn't smart enough to quit an addiction for 30 years. So that tells me I'm missing some brain cells up here and I need more help. So for everyone with us today, don't rely on yourself. Ask for help. There's great people out there. And don't forget, we're doing our 2-for-1 special, 16 sessions for the cost of 8. So if that would help you, that's all at talkdavid.com. And then the book, Liz, that you mentioned, Helping American Heal, there's about 100 writings that could help people as well. So we're just trying to help people in every way we can.
Well, that sounds great. Is there anything, that's all the questions that I have for today. Do you have anything else that you would like to add?
Be patient with change. The pandemic, it doesn't seem like it's ever going away. So don't wait for it to go away to make the changes you need to make. A lot of times, Liz, that's one of the mistakes we make. Well, as soon as the pandemic is over, as soon as the kids are off to college, as soon as I'm divorced, as soon as I'm married, we make all these future plans. Well, we don't see the pandemic ever going away. We see it constantly remolding itself. So don't wait for some magical time to be ready to heal. If you're listening to this show, if you're with us right now, today is the day to heal.
That's great advice. Yeah, I kind of do that. Wait till tomorrow. Wait till this. Yeah, that's really good advice. Well, thank you so much, David, for joining me today. I'm Liz Linden for Power of the Patient Project, the National Library of Patient Rights and Advocacy. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.